first things first, though, Big Mouth. Have you finished it?
Yes, I have.
Season 4? All right.
Yes.
What did you think overall?
I thought it was one of the best seasons yet.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they portray anxiety and depression is just like nuts how spot on it is. Like,
yeah, you can tell they do some consulting with psychologists, or at least with the current slate of what psychologists are targeting or how they're kind of identifying these issues and treating them, for sure.
Right.
I think.
The last episode, I did enjoy it. I did not like how they ended it.
Me neither.
Yeah, it was just literally the last part. I was just like, why?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact last part, but I don't like the last episode. Kristen and I were talking about it. The last episode, I think, was the one that they were doing in the midst of the pandemic. And I don't think the writers were in the same room because I got a little upset. You probably noticed this. The last episode is where they switched out Jenny Slate for the new voice actress.
Yeah.
Ayo Edebiri.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that. Ayo Edebiri.
Yeah, they were actually, I think they replaced her the second to last episode.
Oh, they did? I didn't notice until the last episode. That's interesting.
Yeah, and Vicky noticed too, and I almost didn't notice because she sounded pretty similar to me.
I noticed immediately, but then again, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, once she pointed it out, I was like, okay, yeah, that is somebody different. But
yeah, I pointed out too, and then we rewinded it, and because Kristen didn't recognize it either, and then she did. But I got worried because, I mean, she didn't sound exactly like Missy, which is fine. But she also didn't really have kind of a nerdy tilt or an excited kind of lilt to her voice. It didn't sound to me like Missy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really worried. I was like, oh, and then I started hyper focusing on her. And then I was like, she's not funny. She's not interesting. But then, and I started to blame that on her voice actor. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, wait a second. That last episode, it just felt like they were trying to rapidly come to a conclusion. There was hardly any jokes or gags. Like, it really wasn't, it didn't feel as full of, like, planning and forethought and comedy as some of the other episodes in the series. Mm-hmm. And I think they were so focused on Nick's resolution and everybody helping him that comedy took a backseat. So everybody actually wasn't as funny as they usually were, to be honest. So I don't really blame that on her. I'm going to still, I want to give her a chance, and hopefully she'll be able to do just as good as a job. Like, obviously her having the opportunity is the good thing. And now I'm just like comparing her and the other person. It's tough when somebody takes over something that you already have like set up in your head.
Yeah, but she'll be, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I was looking her up. I mean, she's a pretty accomplished comedian. So I think once she gets a hold of Missy and kind of makes her her own, maybe there'll be a good kind of melding of that character. I just think they didn't really get a chance to let her settle into the role. And COVID probably played a big role in that, I bet.
Yeah.
Also, Kristen made this observation, and after thinking about it, I had to agree. The last episode felt, for the first time ever in the series, a little forced and a little preachy.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the gratitude.
Oh, I love the gratitude.
No, I do too. And I think gratitude is huge, and it's actually extremely accurate. The best way to combat a lot of things, including anxiety and depression, is gratitude. Practicing it. Like literally, like every day, just exclaiming what you're grateful for. It changes your brain's plasticity. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Usually they do it in that big mouth way. That's kind of over the top, but it's got packed with subtle truth bombs. And this one felt a little bit on the nose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I just noticed a subtle shift in the writing. And again, I can probably attribute that to COVID and being tough to meet and everybody kind of having their own stuff on their plate.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Wait, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do, baby? I'd love to sit down.
Right. The way it ended was with a song.
Mm.
And it was focused on, what is that hormone monster? What's my name? I don't know the name.
What are you going to do? Yeah. Nick's hormone monster, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
Yeah. It didn't stand out to me that much, but the whole episode was like meh for me, so it's fine. Yeah. But no, overall, I really liked it. I loved, like we talked about before, the Missy parts and her whole journey and stuff. And I loved the code switch song.
Yeah, that was a great song.
The code switching was great. And then I loved how, was it Devin? No, Devin's the girl. What's the guy's name? Devon, that's it. Devon was being kind of checked by Missy's cousin, like, you should never code switch and don't sell out. And then immediately, like, her RA came out. She's like, hey, girl.
Right.
And she's like, shut up, that's different. And
it's different when you're code switching for pussy, huh?
Yeah. No, she's like, you must have dialed your code switch to pussy.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty good, Missy. She had some zingers.
Yeah.
She for real did. But yeah, code switching is a thing. We all do it to some degree. I mean, when I get really comfortable, I kind of slip into a certain mode, and then of course I have to switch that up. And I got teased a little bit about it in college because I joined a white fraternity, and all of them are like, "Why do you talk like that?" And I'm like what? Because I don't really notice it.
Right.
But then I do notice it when I kick it up a notch. I remember when we were doing the episode with AD and GP, and my code went ultra black. Like I listened back and I was like, "Damn, Mike."
New Mike, who this?
But I mean, it just reminded me of being like back in school because I went to the schools in my neighborhood were both predominantly black. Mm-hmm. So I slid back into that. But it sounds weird because I don't do it all the time because we're all, I think, complicated creatures, and we're all like the products of our environment. And I'm not 100% like stereotypically white, but I definitely have, I am white and I have very strong white parts about me, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not perpetrating or trying to be stereotypically black, but I have, think like I've had past girlfriends, even my wife now, people recognize certain things in me and they're genuine. They just come from, growing up where I grew up and being who I am, Yeah. And I think the reason why Kristen and I get along so well is because both of us aren't really traditional. You know what I mean? As far as like what people would expect out of us. Mm-hmm. Kristen would get teased because her parents were very focused on her speaking a certain way. And of course her name and everything else. And so she would get teased for not being black enough. I would get it never by black people, but white people would accuse me of perpetrating like they know what black is. Mm-hmm. And I would get harassed by white people. And we didn't, it's not that we didn't fit in, but people were trying to like place us into a box that we didn't fit in. And I think both of us kind of relate in that way. Mm-hmm. So it's nice that I found somebody that kind of like has that parallel experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, for some, it's a journey that never ends. And I think, ultimately that's just the way it is. But I'm glad that I eventually got to the point where I was comfortable in being myself and embracing it and not letting other people shame me into being something I'm not or trying to like fit in to like what's expected of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I can,
I bet you can relate.
Well, yeah, well, I can relate even more so now because I don't have to do that shit anymore because I work for myself.
Yeah.
So I don't have to.
You don't have to code switch as much, do you?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's so great. I can be my 100% genuine self in front of whoever the fuck. And if you don't like it, then I don't have to do business with you.
Yeah. No, it's the healthiest way to live, and I think it's the biggest lesson, especially for young people, because there's such a huge focus on fitting in and belonging and how to go about that. And honestly, I think the focus, if, for people out there listening, for young people and whoever else, I think the focus should be definitely to be yourself first, because you can fail at fitting in and it's out of your control. Like if you go into a club or a clique and your whole focus is to fit in, you're going to change yourself. And then when it doesn't work, you're going to feel the shame of failure. Like, oh man, I'm not worth it. I can't measure up to these folks. But if you are yourself, you've already succeeded at being yourself. And if that doesn't fit with that particular group, you're not so hard on yourself. You're like, you know what? It doesn't fit. I was honest. We weren't clicking. I'm moving on to the next thing. And then you're more apt to find that group or that place that you do fit in as your authentic self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's so hard to learn that lesson for a lot of kids, especially for me. I just wanted to fly under the radar. So I was always just trying to be whatever it is I thought people wanted me to be when I was young. And it's taxing and it's rough and you never fully succeed. You can never be what everybody wants you to be all the time. So don't even try. The best thing is to be yourself. And this is the proof of it. The people in my life that I've really looked up to, the most successful people, the coolest people that I've known were always 100% themselves.
Oh, thanks.
Right? And you recognize that. No, you do. You recognize that.
Yeah. So. You recognize my success.
Genuine, recognize genuine.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think you mean genuine.
Genuine. 9 o'clock on the phone.
In those jeans, looking good, many ties. Come on!
My pony. Yeah, so got on a little tangent there, but I think it's important. And Big Mouth, man, that's a show I'm going to like archive and show back to Ben when he's like 10 to get him ready for puberty, because it's important.
Yep.
So, well, here's the season 5. hopefully it's just as good, and I look forward to seeing what they do next. You know what I mean? So for those who haven't seen Big Mouth, you should watch it. It's really good.
Yep.
It's raunchy as fuck, but if you're cool with that, I mean, if you're listening to us, you're probably fine with that.
Right.
But yeah, it's a decent show.
Yeah, I will say this season took it a little further than I was expecting it to. Actually, a lot further. There was a lot of stuff that went way, way, way far.
Yeah. Like that whole episode about fingering and hand jobs, that was good times.
Oh, yeah, that was a really good episode.
It was one of my favorites, yeah. Okay. And okay, back.
Yep.
Okay, no. Just rub the bell.
Calm down. I said,
off.
this sounds way too familiar.
No, it brought back memories. Chris and I were swapping our first hand job / fingering stories. That was good times.
Yeah.